All right, you guys. Hey, listen. And Elaine. All right, of ericandelaine.com. Listen, we are here with an interview with the next installation of the Stay Safe, Stay at Home, Stay in Love.
Yes.
Our Love on Lockdown series. We're talking about healthy relationships today, and we have none other than
the wonderful, the beautiful, the lovely. She is amazing, Nicole Franklin Jones. And this is an amazing woman, really. She is a friend of ours because we've known her and we've done work together, but we love her because Nicole was not just someone that we met, but it went from beyond an introduction to a connection immediately from day one. So we're an awesome woman, wife, but also she is an amazing presenter who has such a passion and skill and professionalism dealing with relationships. So she's like Eric and I, she's passionate about relationships and she's an advocate for healthy relationships. And so
yes, absolutely.
Good to, of course, work with her. And what we like about her is she's much like us in the sense that she allows humor while dealing with delicate issues regarding our relationships as individuals, couples, and families. So without further ado, we're going to introduce our girl, none other than Nicole Franklin Jones. Nicole, take it away. Tell the people who you are.
Well, thank you guys again so much. It is always a pleasure to not only see you guys' beautiful face, but to also work with you. Elaine stated I've been working with both of them for quite some time, and I promise you the level of education that they put out, it also empowers me in my relationship as well. And so I want to thank you guys also for affording me this opportunity. I've been working in this field of talking about relationships for over 20 years. And I got into working with relationships based on a lot of the students that I've worked with. I've worked with young adults for over 30 years. And one of the key things that I've noticed about young adults is that I asked them the question, who taught them how to have healthy relationships? And believe it or not, they would say 85% of my students would say no one. Well, we have to ask ourselves, as an advocate of relationships, because I strongly believe that when done right, when taught right, relationships are a beautiful thing. But we have to ask ourselves, if 85% of our young adults say no one has taught them, they had to learn on their own, we have to think about what happens when those young adults become adults. And that's where I get into working within this field and my passion comes from. And it's about breaking that generational cycle. And so again, it is always a pleasure to be here and to work with you guys to talk about building relationships and empowering couples to understand the value of love and that it absolutely can work.
Ooh, that was so much richness in that. And what you're saying, generational curses, right? And of course,
generational curses, we have to break them.
Got to, and it's upon us to do that. So thank you for that. Let's dive right in. We got some.
Yes.
So what we're gonna do is this is just the introduction to Nicole. What we're inviting couples to do is to sign on to our webinar coming up next week.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We want to talk about things regarding what a healthy relationship looks like and what a healthy relationship does not look like. All right. So,
right.
Just to touch on a little bit of that. Let's talk about there's something that you do in getting people to think about who's responsible in a particular situation.
Mm-hmm.
Our societal norms normally put us in a position where we have these biases according to who did what and so on and so forth, rather than actually the accountability on the person who did the particular action. Tell us about that a little bit.
So first of all, I just want to say, as a certified life coach and specializing in relationships, it started realizing that it's a foundation. And that foundation is this thing I call the 555. Before we can get to anything, I always want to talk about what are those 5 things, because if no one has ever taught you how to have a healthy relationship, then you don't know where to begin. You continue to seek wherever you can seek, because that's what someone has taught you. So the first 5 is understanding the characteristics of an individual. And what's interesting about those characteristics is that we take out look, sex, and money. Those 3 things that we say are strongly valuable to us, but in hand, sometimes they can be a hindrance to us because it blocks us from seeing the true individual. And so first, we start off with those 5 characteristics. That's the first one. The second one is the 5 things that we need. We are the only ones who know what we need from the opposite person in our relationship. No one can tell you that. But unfortunately, when we have done the first 5, we tend to allow a person to tell us what we need, and we lose that opportunity to tell them what we need in the relationship. Therefore, we get lost, and we become what society says we should become. And we're going to talk about the man box and the female box in a second. Then thirdly, what can we give? That's the last 5 things that we can give. Now, at one point in my life, I thought I was a superwoman. I held up the fist and I say, I can do it all, which as most women in relationships feel as though they can. We feel like we can be a mother, we can be a wife, we can be a girlfriend. I like being a girlfriend in my relationship with my husband. But we feel as though we can do it all. And the reality is that we can't. Yeah, I believe that there's no such thing as multitasking. We have to take it one step at a time. And once we figure out what it is that we really want, that we cannot negotiate about, the things that we need, we can only give, that's non-negotiable. And those 5 characteristics, that starts our foundation. Because we talk about that pyramid of love, that's where it starts. Because once we identify that, then we can talk to the individual about who I was when I grew up. I don't know about you, Elaine, but I was taught to be sugar and spice and everything nice, to stay in my place.
Right.
To know that I should be seen and not necessarily heard if I want a healthy relationship. And on the flip side, to be here. And as long as I kept my hair looking pretty and my face made up, and I spoke a certain way, then I was going to find love. And my job was to take care of my family and to be okay with being okay. But we know in the generation in which we live in now, that's not always true. But when you grew up generational, and that word is popping back up, that's all we know. Until someone comes along and teaches us something different, and that's about empowering me, empowering other women to understand their voice and their place in that relationship. But we also have to understand that on the flip side, there's this thing called the man box. And just as women has been placed in a box generationally, men have also. Men have been taught that they're the breadwinners from my grandfather to my great-great-grandfather. We can take it all the way back to slavery. That is their role, to hold their families up. They cannot cry. They cannot live in fear. They have to be the strong, dominant one in that relationship. Even biblically, we say the man is the head of the household. But we fail to realize what the woman's true role is, even biblically. So, of course, our men stay inside of that box, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's where they want to be. They have a right to cry. They have a right to show their emotions. But if they do those things, they have a right to show their weaknesses. But when they do those things, they're labeled as sorry, as weak, as not important, cannot maintain their house. And we can go on and on and on. And what happens? The foundation that you guys are trying to help build continues to be lost. And that is why I'm excited about the work you guys are doing with couples, because it is time for us to be able to say, you know what, there's a way to build that up and break that generational cycle so that we can start having healthy relationships.
That's right. We're seeing a lot of that right now, the man box, woman box, during this COVID crisis. Now we're opening up now. Things are still opening up, but it's still stress because folks have lost jobs, and a lot of times in that man box feel like their value and their worth is in that particular, and this is why it's key, and why I look forward to our webinar and sharing
Yes.
those things. Tell them. So for those who don't know exactly, you gave a summary of the man box. Can you talk a little bit more about the man box and the woman box?
So the man box is designed, and this is something that we are starting to teach to young adults, and I empower families to be able to sit their children and their young men down. It kind of started, the man box, with female box, I got passionate about it because it actually started with myself. And so, yes. And so when I grew up, in my household, it looked a lot different. My mom was the dominant person in our home. Even though my father was the breadwinner and he brought the money home, and my mom, believe it or not, was a homemaker. I saw that look, Harry. She was the dominant one. My mother talked louder than my dad. She used her hands more aggressively. I've seen her put her hands on my father. And so for myself, I grew up, and even though I was taught to be sugar and spice and everything nice, I started having a level of confusion because I was in that box and I was afraid to come out of that box. But then I saw my mother become this dominant woman. And so for me, I got confused because I didn't know whether we should stay in the box, come out of the box, or go around the box. What is my role as a female? Now, and we say it's the same, but in society, they see us differently. In the workplace, we're seen differently. So for me, I grew up with a level of confusion, which is where my passion is coming from. And then one day I saw my daughter, who I'm very proud of. She's a doctor. She's 33 and she's a doctor and a beautiful young woman. I saw how she was with her husband. And she was a lot like my mother. And I kept asking myself, where did she get this from? And my husband one day looked at me and he said, she got it from you. And I said, there's no way I'm that person. And he says, you are. He says, I'm confused because in our relationship in 2020, it's different. And so I had to sit down and figure out who I was, where did I belong? So Eric, when we look at this box, it's okay to step outside of the box. It's how we step outside of this box. And so if I say that I want to be this helpmate, I have to know what a helpmate look like. And a helpmate doesn't mean when I step outside the box, I gotta be dominant, I gotta be controlling, I gotta be strong-minded to the point that I respect my mate, disrespect my mate. It means that when I step outside of this box, I don't care how society see me. If I do not want to be a strong voice in my relationship, guess what? That is my choice. It's not someone telling me this is who I have to be. I'm this way because I want to be. Who I am at going on 54 years of age, I've worked hard my whole life. And in my home, we've actually sat down and had a conversation about what roles do each one of us play. We didn't tell each other the roles we played, because if that was the case, my husband would be in that box and be that dominant male who says, I'm not a voice. But instead, he stepped outside of that box and said, we're going to have a conversation. And when we step outside of that box, then we can become who our inner selves truly want to be. The person that society says you should not be. The person inside I want to be, society says, ooh, I judge you. And that is not okay. And so I've learned, and my husband has learned, that we can step outside of this box that our world, the generations have put us in, and still have a beautiful, healthy relationship. Because by being in this box, we're trapped. Being in this box, my husband cannot cry when he's sad. Being in this box, my husband cannot come home and say, I've had a hard day at work, babe, and I'm scared. Being in this box, my husband cannot say, I don't like how I look. Being inside this box, I cannot say, honey, I'm tired. I'm tired of being this strong Black woman. Being inside this box, I want to be able to have a voice and say, I really don't want to cook anymore. Being inside this box, I want to be able to say, I just really want to stop being a wife. And can you look at me as a girlfriend? Being inside this box, I'm getting tired of being sugar and spice and everything nice. I need you to like the true me. And that's what the man box and the female box is about. It's about coming from where our world has put us. And when I say the world, I'm including our family, our friends, everyone, and even the faith community has put us here.
Yes.
And I'm saying it's okay to be here. Yeah.
And you know, when you were talking about that, you know, I was thinking about my own childhood and growing up in a family of women, right? Strong, who, you know, if you did wrong, you out the door, and that's okay. I'm raising these kids by myself. I can do it, and I did it, and I will continue to do it, but I will have a sugar daddy and all this dynamic. And so
You ain't gonna have uncles coming
children
to the house.
got uncles coming in, right, in and out, whatever.
That's Uncle so-and-so.
Right.
Why they going in the same bedroom?
Literally, that's but, you know, those things, and watching the women in my family, and then getting married. And marriage is, there's only few marriages that I've seen, you know, as an example in my own.
That's
family.
right.
So, you know, but what you're saying is even coming out of that and allowing for us as women to understand our power of influence.
Yeah.
Is so important, you know, to recognize that we can lead in so many other ways than
We
just,
can.
you know, like my mom used to say, girl, I would stand in the back of my legs and give them the business, right?
I like that.
But looking at that, that's so good.
When you were talking about that, it made me think of the time that the man box and the woman box showed up for me and Elaine.
That's right.
Back in
Now,
2001.
let me sit.
That's right.
No,
That's right.
out of what she grew up, because I grew up in a hyper-masculine, family.
Yes.
You know, my dad and them, they were men to men. We gonna bring home
Chopping down trees and stuff.
Yeah,
For
That's
real.
it.
contractors and everything, and so I came from that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. It was an unspoken thing about crying or whatever, but I remember you had to be tough.
Had to be tough.
They rode horses and stuff like that, and they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
They was gonna have to whoop and get right and all this other kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want no horse like that. I wanted a horse that was when I told her to do it. So in myself, I never verbalized that because I knew that was a some kind of man thing. So here it is. We're married 2001. We've been robbed of our belongings in our car in the desert, light, Arizona. And I had been interrogated for for an hour and a half over my car being vandalized and broken into on the side of the freeway. And they treated me like I was a liar and everything. So when they finally realized that I was telling the truth about my wife and my 3 children, they wanted to call me sir and this and that and be nice and being nice to my wife. I was angry.
That's right.
So after leaving the marshal's office, after making our reports and everything, I was so emasculated as a man. Now these 2 guys, 6'2" and 6'4", I'm just 5'9".
Mm-hmm.
They like, man, should we let him approach the scene and all these types of things? And I didn't know what they was gonna do to me out there on the side of the road. And that Arizona sun, I was darker than Elaine.
Right. he didn't mean that. He was just trying to say, you're gonna go back in the box. You were gonna go in the box.
I'm chocolate already.
He always wanted to be chocolate.
I am chocolate because Daddy chocolate, you chocolate. Central Entertainer said he gonna call me back and let me know his people gonna get with my people on me being grandfathered into the chocolate. Anyway.
She said stay focused.
So while we were leaving, I just put the car in park and cried because I knew in myself that I did not want to take it out on my 6-month-old, my 2-year-old, or my 4-year-old, and definitely not my wife.
That's right. That's right.
I learned that if it's gonna come out some kind of way, then it's best to allow it. So that was me coming to my man box. Do I cry in front of my wife and kids?
Yes.
But I hadn't understand. I needed that for me.
That's right. That's right.
Elaine could have been in the woman box of her family, strong-willed women, and be like, you need to man up. What's the matter with you?
I was going to say that. Mm-hmm.
She stepped out of that box, made it a safe place.
That's right.
It was cathartic, and what men don't, sometimes we don't understand that is one of the most cathartic situations to feel your emotions through, whatever the emotions are.
Mm-hmm.
Away, even anger. But you're not hitting somebody.
That's right.
Learn to express that anger in other ways. Go lift some weights. Go do get on your bike. Do something that's healthy for you to release those emotions.
And you know what I love about that, Eric? Because you just said it. Elaine stepped out of her box also at that time, and she allowed you, she was there for you and that's when we talk about that agape love. She gave you that agape love, because what we don't realize, and this is so interesting, even a lot of females cause men to stay in that box, because they will say, oh, a real man don't cry. A real man doesn't show his weakness. And that's because that's generationally, that's what they saw in their home. So when we talk about that man box and men being that way, it's not just men who say you should be a man and don't be that way. There are also women who would say that also. Oh, I can't handle a man that's crying. That's a punk. You a punk. You're weak. And even to the point of saying, girl, he gay. I can't believe he broke down like that. Well, when you meet the right individual, that is when you deal with the 555, and obviously you guys didn't even realize it, but that's what you were at. You, Elaine, and you got together not because of looks, I hope not because of sex. He said you did, and not because of money.
Me and my green slacks was talking to her.
Yes,
body's cold.
Okay, come on, Elaine. He might have got with you a little bit for your body, but he stayed with you because of what was deeper in you.
Right.
You know?
Well, I love 555. Can you tell us just a tad bit more of what that is?
What do we want to say?
We want to say.
Yeah. We can save it, because so just know that it's the 5 characteristics, and we take out sex, look, and money. And so before we meet again, I want you guys to even process that. If you go back to when you first started dating, what is it that the 5 things that you liked about Eric, and Eric, what you liked about Elaine, and it had nothing to do with sex, looks, or money. So that means that you have to go deeper into an individual. You have to hear with your heart. Ooh, I see you thinking.
She said I was broke. She said I was broke.
I did not say that. Carry on, sis.
You see that? It's hard to think about it, And then we think about the 5 things that we need. And so often enough, think about it. Who really teaches you to think of yourself when it comes to a relationship? When we meet the opposite sex, we think of what I can do for that person. And that's not a bad thing to a certain degree, but I'm constantly thinking about someone else's needs and what their wants that I tend to neglect my own. So I got to stop and ask myself, what are the 5 things I can actually give to my husband without compromising my integrity, without compromising myself? And then I also got to be able to tell my husband or my new mate or my mate now, what is it that I need to keep me sustainable, happy? So my husband right now, I always tell him, sometimes he gives me the wrong things. Mm-hmm. He'll come home with all of these flowers. And don't get me wrong, I love flowers. But what I really love from him is when we sit down on the patio and we're just drinking a glass of wine. And he wants to be big and bodacious. When we first got together, he was buying all of this jewelry. And I was thinking, I don't even wear jewelry like that. But from where he came from, that's what you do. You show your girl you love her, you buy her big diamonds. And I'm like, please. He was like, well, most women, they would want that. And I was like, I understand that. I'm grateful, but that's not what I need from you.
Yes. Most women, so I heard that box that he was struggling too.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Now, the box showed up and we failed 10 years into our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that a lot of times people, even when you're facing something that you've never seen before. I've never seen my father. My father and my biological father and biological mother were divorced before, 6 months after I was born. And then but I've never seen my father be aggressive physically toward my stepmother. Now his mouth was crazy, but that was another thing. But this 10 years into our marriage, I'd never seen, it never even entered my imagination that we would be physical. We would get to a situation where we would get physical. So Elaine did a Nolan Ryan on me. With some, yeah.
And he's serious about it too.
Strike out. She was trying to strike the batter out. The thing was, there was no batter.
What had happened?
What had happened was,
I blacked out. I told you.
But she said it though. What I love about what Elaine said was, and I think, and again, that goes back to communication, because that's a big part of what eventually we'll get into, is that often enough we show people who we are. We really do tell them who we are, but the other person does not hear it. We don't hear it. We hear what we want to hear, but we don't hear what a person is actually telling you and showing you. And what she just said was that she blacked out. She blacked out because she got tired of being tired. Somewhere along this journey, she had continually to repeat herself, whatever the situation caused, she had continually to repeat herself to you. And there was constantly conversation or actions about what her trigger was. And that's a whole nother session. But somewhere along the line, the trigger was missed. And she reacted to that action, to that trigger. Right. And which is what a lot of couples do. And that's what she said, that was it. She blacked out.
And so that box, she fell all up in that box. And then I tripped and fell all up in my man box because what I said was no one. Elaine, I ain't never laid hands on you, and I never will. But one thing we're not gonna do, we're not going to throw things at each other. But I was using threat and intimidation.
That's what I was gonna say.
And I got up, so I was changing my posture and all these different things. And the thing, like a woman is trying to, handle me. Oh no, even though I was saying something that was, helpful.
Yes, right.
My body language, I was speaking out what my dad did, talking outside your neck, boy. Because here it is, I'm saying, I'm doing something in my body different out my mouth.
That's right. That's right. And she went back to her box. And that's what I say, you missed it. She went back to her box and she said she grew up in a household with strong women.
Right.
Yes.
So when you were intimidating, she was too.
Too. Yes, both of us were. We were really like in this war within ourselves. Growing up, and we had a choice to make though.
But who was the aggressor? Who
well, that don't matter because we learned from it.
But well, not only did you learn from it, you're aware of it, and that's the big part. Because at any given time, and if I can figure out how to do it through Zoom, I will draw up the box and show you. But at any given time, all of us can convert back to that box because that's what we know, and that's safe for us. Because we feel like when we come outside the box, we're vulnerable. But in relationships, you're supposed to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable. You cannot stay in that box.
You have to be vulnerable. And even the crazy part about that is the box of drama. Because even when he stood up, the drama woman, the drama queen in me was almost like, ooh, okay. Like, drama.
Girl, he's strong. That was kind of sexy.
It's like this cycle
show me what you're working with.
Yeah, show me what you're working with, and you get turned on by stuff like that because, media shows us that, hey, you want the thug, you want the
exactly.
That guy that's gonna stand up, the knight in shining armor, and he's supposed to come with a.
That's right.
All that. And there's a level of truth in that, but
yes,
society, I think we have taken it all the way to the end of the pendulum.
The truth is there until it applies to you.
Wow.
That's where the truth is. It's there until it applies to you. And what's interesting is that dude that is macho and that's big and strong, if you ask him, he don't want to be that person. He don't want to be that thug. Look at Eric. Eric, you don't want to be that thug. You just want to get in the car with your family and cry like a 2-year-old and say, hold me, baby, I'm hurting. That's who you want to be. And we got to give our young adults, so they can grow up to be adults, permission to be that way.
Right.
We got to start breaking that cycle.
And it was a difficult in that moment, because I grew up in a family where I had to fight on both sides of my family. My daddy's side of the family was tall and skinny. My mama's side of the family was short and stocky. So I didn't know how to stick and move with either one, because I came out short and skinny. Yes. I was born to be picked on. So I had a...
Sorry. He said he was born to be picked on.
That's what it is. I was going to be picked on no matter what. So I had to always fight, and I had to always put up this hyper dude thing, just so folks know, don't fool with me, Mm-hmm. And that was things that I shot some folks with BB guns.
Yes.
With BB guns, as a young man that's walking around the state, can't hear because of that angriness of being the little dude in the bunch. And so here it is. I had to think as a father, and I was sharing this with a young man yesterday about the maturity in his statement, as far as, because he watched the Michael Jordan thing and they were talking about how a lot of people didn't like how he was and this and that. He said, but yeah, he's a champion though. I'm like, but look at the trail of tears. I say the most mature thing, because he said he recognized he didn't want to, he didn't want to be in his household and be hard on his wife in a way that's just not her,
Right.
And if she's different, okay, so you can't, berate somebody and disrespect somebody because they different than you. And he said I had to give her kudos because she did something that I said she should do, and it wasn't even something she did, and she did it well. Everything. He said, so I realized now that I'm older, having this ambition and stuff like that is all cool and all, but what's most important? I was like,
that's important.
That is the key of maturity right there, because he would have satisfied me that day to whip both of those officers.
Yeah, that's right.
In my manhood self, if I put a whooping on both of them and have so-called this man dignity, but I knew if I did that, that would have been a temporary situation.
It would have been temporary. And what were you teaching to not only your kids, but also your wife? What happens to your family because of your own masculinity?
That was the key, that I had to stomach all of that, because I'm not leaving them out here stranded.
That's right.
Here I am. They're gonna already have an attitude toward me as a cop killer or whatever. Or if I, because bottom line, I was probably gonna get shot on the side of the road. So now I done left my family because of my male masculinity.
That's right.
Wanting to stand up in the moment. No, it takes maturity. I think that good book says that. Greater is the man that can control his spirit than he that can take the city.
And that's a different kind of love too, Eric, because people always say, how do you know you're in love? But love comes with thinking of someone before you think of yourself. Because there are a lot of people that would have been so concerned about how they look, their own masculinity, that they would have allowed, not purposely, but that still would have allowed their family to go by the wayside to prove their own manhood. And what you did is that you showed that I love my family more than I love me, which you should. That's not agape love. That's not unconditional love. And so when people say, oh, when I met this person, I was in love, you were just that. You were infatuated, because you don't fall in love until you think of somebody else at a bad situation.
That's right. That's right. So with that, real quick, we're gonna wrap it up, but tell us about your life coaching. How can we you be reached, and so on and so forth, and everything. So
I'm going to actually send you my card. And so I understand I specialize in singles, because people who want to get into a healthy relationship. I also focus on marriage couples who are struggling with how to maintaining their relationship and understanding the importance of growth. And I incorporate a lot of the 555. And so then I also focus on young adults, because understanding that young adults turn into adults who need to be taught how to break that cycle. And so I specialize in each one of those. A lot of my marital coaching counseling, often they ask for a male. My husband and I both are certified life coaches. And so if they want a male life coach to be a part of the session, we're both trained to do that, but that has to be a request that they make. Believe it or not, a lot of the females want a male because they want that male perspective, and then the male wants that female perspective, and I think that that's a great balance. And so for anybody who wants to reach me, they can call me at my phone number, 713-303-1063, or they can email me at njones, coach, Jones, coach@gmail.com, and I'll send you guys a copy of that link so that you can have it as well to post. Okay. So again, I take referrals, and the initial thing that I do is there's a contract that a person has to sign, because I believe that commitment is everything. You know, when we're trying to better ourselves, we're trying to grow into our relationship. Often enough, we think that that's quick work, but that isn't quick work. It took some of us 10, 15 years to get to this place. It's going to take some time for us to remove ourselves from this place. I also talk to my clients about what the difference is. There's a difference between therapy and life coaching. My job is to coach you into maintaining a healthy relationship, which means that therapeutically, you focus on the then and there. And that then and there is when my mama, my dad, and my grandmother. Where we are right now as a life coach, I focus on the here and the now. Where are you right now? Because for a lot of us, we can continue to travel back so far that it'll take us a years to get to where we are right now. And by that time, we've lost so much. And so for me, the difference is that I want to focus on the here and now so we can move into our future. And so I think that's important for a lot of clients to understand, because a lot of people don't understand what the difference between therapy and life coaching is. I'm going to meet you where you're at.
Right.
Yeah.
That is lovely. Mm-hmm. Well, good people, we're going to be sharing with you on the time for the time and date for the webinar. And it's going to be great.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
I mean, just this little tease was, enough to just really make us want more. So
right.
We're going to have those couples and individuals, so we can have both, right? I think
yes. Yeah, there's a lot to come. So, guys, thank you so much for trusting me to be a part of your journey. So that's important to me also.
Yeah. And I'll work with you on getting that done. It's really easy.
Cool.
We'll have all of those things worked out. So, the people, this has been Eric and Elaine. Our efforts to help you make your love.
I love that. Y'all so sexy.
So
my boyfriend.
That's your boyfriend, girl. That's your boyfriend.
But we look forward to next week. You guys stay tuned.
Yes.
As we make our love work.
Right.
Stay
home
and stay
safe. Yes. Thank you guys so much.
Yes.
Talk.